Hello and welcome to CheckPoint Logger Screencast Tutorial Part 3 Advanced Settings. In Part 1 I covered external clocks, in Part 2 I covered system clocks, and now I'm going to cover some of the advanced settings, a little bit more detail on doing something other than just entering time. I'm presuming that you've watched or at least skimmed Part 1 and 2, so I don't need to go over any of the basic information about how to open it, how to switch checkpoints, how to navigate. So I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. The most common thing you might have to do is to add a car. Usually you'll receive something that has a pre-populated list, but sometimes there are last-minute additions. In that case, it's very simple. If you're in either the external clock view or the system clock view, you can move to the upper left corner. Just below this checkpoint name, you'll see this plus. You can single click on that. It'll bring up a little window you can add the information to. It should automatically bring up the next car number, the next highest car number. You could change that if you needed to. You can add in a driver's name and navigator, of course. You can add in car number. And you can pick a class. The most important thing in this is that the status should be active and that the car number be unique. If you don't pick a unique car number, if you change it to something that's already been used, you'll get an error message. Once you've entered all the information, you go down to the add this car and single click on that. It's gone ahead and added the car. See it here. And I will go in and put a time for it. There we go. The next most common thing you might want to do is to change the car information. Specifically, you can go into any car in the list here. Again, this is the same for external clock and system clock, and single click on the car number. It'll bring up the information that you have. You can change any of this stuff. Perhaps it bothers you that this is a 2002 Subaru. And you've noticed that is in fact a blue Range Rover. Click on the background, that'll go away. If we switch to another checkpoint, let's go to something that hasn't been used, 4A. If I populate it, you will see that car number 6 got added. You can see that the 2002 Blue Range Rover change was made. The next thing you might have to do is to adjust the clock. I covered this when I went over system clock because it's a pretty important concept for that, but occasionally checkpoint clocks drift. Pretty unusual, but it happens. Or perhaps the battery came out, there was some problem, it went blank, and you fixed it, but you didn't have the official time when you started timing, so your time is off. It's a very similar process to the system clock. There's one big difference you have to worry about. So we're going to go up to this adjust clock in the upper right hand corner. We're going to single click on that. It's going to bring up a little window. It describes the process here. If you're doing this out in the field, you should definitely read that because that should cover what you need to do. Now, when we did system clock, we pressed this get system time at the same time as we press the hold on a master time clock, and we wrote the two values in. In this case, you don't want to use system time at all. You just want to press the hold on two clocks, so you need an official timepiece to do this with, and you put in the system time, you put in whatever your clock reads. So this will be where your clock reads, and in the master time, you put the master time clock. And just like in the system clock, once the calculated difference is done, you press this down arrow to apply it. And you could see that there are adjusted times. If I'd filled in this checkpoint time, clear that, it'll go away by pressing a single click on the clear adjust time button. Again, to reapply this. Checkpoint adjustment times are a per checkpoint basis. So if you move on to another checkpoint later on, it does not automatically apply that difference, although it does remember the last difference that was applied. Much less common, you might need to change some of the score settings. That button is just below adjust clock. You can see the timing in. At this point, only seconds are supported. I could change the timing precision if I wanted to. In this case, again, this is much less useful without actual checkpoint information. So let's switch over to that. Now these scores are using tenths of seconds. You can see that the score is 7.5, 30.7. I could also change the max to 300. And you can see that this has changed to 5 minutes. If I change it back to 600, which is 10 minutes, of course. You can see these two maxes change. The only other thing you might possibly need to do on the fly is to create a new checkpoint. That presumes that you have a way to measure the checkpoint and do the calculations. So if you have that, you can go over to Event Information, check this Checkpoint tab, and then you go this plus here, add in a checkpoint name, E, we'll add in E at mileage, and I'm just going to make up a time. And that did not do what it was supposed to do, but we will manually select it. There's our checkpoint. It's important to know that if you do this, you also need to let the score know, because the systems are not linked. When you export this, it'll just create a spreadsheet that the score can copy, but the score can only copy it if he has something to copy it into. So he would need to add that into the scoring spreadsheet or whatever device he's using for that. So that's pretty much it. One thing you might want to do, if you're playing around with the system, is to clear out all the timing information. I'm going to go out again to Event Info and press this Clear Timing Info. So that's going to delete all the car timing information, which is each time you put into the system. This is individual car timing and associated scores. It doesn't include any of the other information, so it doesn't delete checkpoints. You can go ahead and single click on OK. And now you can see that this checkpoint no longer has data in it. There you go. Thank you very much for watching the screencast tutorials for Checkpoint Logger. Goodbye.